What's up, you guys? Teddy Striker here, and recently Dana White signed Conor Benn to his boxing promotion, Zuffa Boxing, and apparently he signed him for $15 million per fight, which is a crazy amount of money, and rightfully so. It caused a lot of headlines. A lot of MMA fighters are saying, what the hell is Dana White doing? If he's paying him that much money and Conor Benn's not even the biggest name, then why are we getting paid $900K, $50K, $500K, not even $1 million, and this guy's getting $15 million, and he's not even like a massive boxing star?
See how you just put in so much work in the UFC, to build this name, create this character, be this per star, and it's like, I'm not making fucking $15 million a fight.
Yeah.
But it's also a business. If they think that's a good business move and that guy's going to bring in money, it's like, I get it.
And this should be upsetting for the fighters because Dana White, he essentially just got a new shiny toy and he offered him like right away $15 million and he got it. And some could say that, oh, it's not Dana White that's got this money. It's like Turkey al-Sheikh and, the Saudis that are giving that money.
15 million? Turkey al-Sheikh is behind a lot of this stuff too. So it's not like it's coming out of the UFC fighter pay. Like,
It doesn't matter where it's coming from. The money's coming from somewhere. You talk about UFC, the money's coming from Paramount.
And Kamaru Usman is absolutely right. Like, the UFC does have the money from Paramount to pay their fighters a lot more money. But according to fighters like Sean Strickland and Justin Gaethje, clearly the Paramount deal hasn't really meant more money for the fighters. Like, yes, they are getting the 100K bonus and the 25K finish bonus, but in terms of their individual pay, they're not getting anywhere near what Conor Benn is getting for essentially one fight. Another proof that the UFC does have the money to pay their fighters is John Jones in 2025 got offered $30 million for one fight against Tom Aspinall. He obviously declined it, but if the UFC is willing to say, hey, here we go, $30 million to make one fight, doesn't that show that they can increase the overall pay for the fighters? But in my opinion, I don't think the UFC wants to do that. They want to keep more money for themselves. So here's an alternative solution, and that is, why not just let fighters box? Why not just let UFC fighters lace up the gloves, lace up the boots, and step in the ring? Obviously, you want to keep your stars in MMA, but here's what I'm seeing. Here's my sort of vision for this. How about you let fighters box? Maybe you have in their contract that says, for every one boxing fight you take, you owe us 2 UFC fights. So that way you can keep your fighters in MMA, but also you can let them make a life-changing amount of money. And it's not like the interest isn't there. Like, recently there's been these boxing versus MMA conversations going on because of Terrence Crawford and Shakur, and they've been saying that boxing is more entertaining than the UFC. And then Joaquin Buckley responded,
that being said, stop disrespecting us, bro. We are way more entertaining than y'all. It just is what it is. When we watch you guys fight, it's predictable on who's gonna win. So ain't no excitement in that. And the UFC, you don't know who gonna get it.
And the thing is, the UFC fighters are actually willing to box. I remember Ilia Topuria was willing to box Terrence Crawford, and recently, well, not so recently, but Conor Benn has been calling out Ilia Topuria to box.
Cool. Anyone wants to come over from the UFC? I see a lot of people taking me here down Ilia, Itora, Lilia. I've got these hands, brother.
And also, it's not just MMA fighters that want to box, but actually some boxers want to fight in MMA. For example, Alexander Usyk talked about how he wants to have an MMA fight on several occasions. So here's an idea. Why don't you have Alex Pereira fight Alexander Usyk in a boxing match, and then you get Alexander Usyk to fight Alex Pereira in MMA, so that way you get maximum excitement. And also, if the UFC does this, they eliminate the potential of having another Francis Ngannou situation where a fighter is able to fight out their contract and make their own money, be as profitable as they can be, and having nothing to do with the UFC. But that's my take on the whole Conor Benn situation and how he's getting paid $15 million per fight, while UFC fighters aren't making anywhere near as close to that. And I think a massive way to make everyone happy is let fighters box and let boxers come into MMA if they actually try to. Like, they talk a lot of trash about UFC fighters, but they always say, hey, come box me. But why don't they come into the octagon? Maybe we can have a 2-fight deal, 1 boxing fight, 1 MMA, or better, we can even have a mixed rules fight. But obviously that's like probably not gonna happen. So I would say a 2-fight deal would be a little more realistic, and me personally, I'd be very excited to see that, to be honest. Not all the time, but you know, let some fighters have an opportunity to make a lot more money for themselves, or they can just pay fighters more in MMA. I feel like that would be a great solution. I think that's what the UFC should do. They have the ability to do it, so why not just do it, Dana White? Quit being so greedy and give them their money, because at the end of the day, the reason why UFC fighters want to box partially is because of the ego. They want to prove that they're dominant and they can take out boxers, but it's also...
It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think the UFC should let UFC fighters go box in Zuffa boxing, or do you think that the UFC should just simply pay their fighters more money? But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.